Hi, I'm Janet Kurtz, Editor-in-Chief of InFocus.
And I'm Madeline Bradford, the Associate Editor of InFocus.
And we are here with another exciting episode of In Good Company. We've got an action-packed one today.
We had a big week last week.
We did.
But filled with so many fun things.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was absolutely outstanding. Even just yesterday, I went to the Nashville Reps Sister Act.
Yes.
Wow, did they knock it out of the park. And audience, you're lucky because they actually have another 3 shows this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you missed it this past weekend, definitely get your tickets for this weekend because it is absolutely outstanding.
Sister Act is already such a fun show, but their performers are insanely talented.
Unbelievable. And I just am so excited about the talent that we have here in Nashville.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. But we also went to the Lion's Share.
That's
opening.
right. This is a very highly anticipated opening.
Yes.
And tell us what was there before. What did the space used to be?
So it was a beloved neighborhood spot called McCabe's Pub. So for those of you in the audience wondering where Lion's Share is, it's in that like cute little Sylvan Park neighborhood, kind of near Park Cafe, Cafe Nona, those places. It was McCabe's Pub. Now it is Lion's Share. And it's beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's very inspired by pubs in the Cotswolds, and you can definitely tell with the decor. It also has a very rustic flair to it.
Yes, it really does. And not to give too much away, because obviously in our May issue, Chris Chamberlain is going to be covering Lion's Share for us. So you do have to wait just a couple more weeks so you can see our full review of it. But I will say that I think that it could be the next kind of neighborhood spot.
I think so. And everybody in the room was very impressed with the decor and how they transformed the space.
They were. And that was done by Kathy Anderson, who is really well known in Nashville for her hospitality spaces that she's created, among other things. But she has done some beautiful spaces here in the city. And this one is just stunning. All right, so we should jump in.
We should. So the first event that I covered last week was the Reaching New Heights Luncheon for Cumberland Heights, which was so incredible. Cumberland Heights has transformed the lives of people affected by drug and alcohol addiction since 1966.
Wow.
Which is incredible. And every year, Nashvillians really show up to the cause, but that was especially the case for the event's 15th anniversary. Hillwood Country Club was packed. It looked beautiful. And there was so much camaraderie in the room of old friends reuniting and new friendships forming. But perhaps the most impactful moment was when keynote speaker Mackenzie Phillips spoke. And Mackenzie is the daughter of John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas. She is also an actress known for American Graffiti and One Day at a Time.
Yes.
And she is a New York Times bestselling author for her memoir called High on Arrival, which details her path to sobriety.
Oh, wow.
Very impactful.
Yeah.
She spoke with so much eloquence about how she recovered, and it was very inspiring, and every guest left with a copy of her book.
Oh, incredible. And to hear stories like that of just the resilience that it takes and the inner strength that it takes to do that is just amazing. So I'm so glad that you got to experience that.
Me as well.
Yeah.
Well, you also had a luncheon this week.
I did, but before that, I had the Swan Ball auction wrap-up party.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, and I have to tell you, this kind of, we need to take our viewers back to August when it was the Swan Ball auction kickoff party. And so what happens then is the auction committee gets together, and it's kind of a pep rally meets you're getting your marching orders. And so in August, everybody got together, and you know, the co-chairs, Terry Major and Jody Madison, kind of gave everybody this sort of vision of what they have for the auction this year, and said, we really need 5 Swan-worthy auction items. And Swan-worthy, you may not be familiar with that. Some of our audience may not be familiar with that. But they really go out and they find the best auction items that are not available anywhere on the market. So these are personal trips that have been put together. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But it is really over-the-top auction, dining, travel experiences, different things, which I was really excited about one of them, different things that might go in your home. And speaking of the home, you were in this gorgeous home of Caitlin and Will Flynn. Stunning home. So it was really fun to be in that setting to celebrate the culmination of months of hard work So, and then go through the announcement of the actual auction items themselves.
So what are you the most excited for?
Well, gosh, there are two. The polar bears by day and the aurora borealis by night, trip to Canada. I would love that. I've been to Antarctica. I would like to go to the Arctic I would like to see polar bears. I'd love to see aurora borealis. So that one was very exciting. There was one for music lovers, Alan Jackson's Last Call. It is a visit to the suite, or it's an evening in the suite as he is performing on his last tour.
Oh, wow.
So that one's going to be really special. Obviously a once in a lifetime event. There are trips to Napa, Italy, but one of the ones that I am very excited about is actually from here in town. Corzine is donating for the auction an entire tablescape. So that's china, flatware, linens,
wow.
Just all the things that you might need to make this beautiful tablescape for entertaining. And of course, that's what they are so known for,
yes,
among other things. But I honestly kind of want to bid on that because I think it's
amazing.
Really fun. Yeah.
Well, these sound like incredible, very unique experiences.
Yes, they are. And I would confidently say that they exceeded their 5 Swan-worthy goal of auction items.
Well, it sounds like it.
Yes. So auction party's coming up in May, and we're very excited about that. Yes. So back to the luncheon I went to was the NAHT, Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. And so this group gets together. This is their third, I believe. And so this is the Daisy Circle Leadership Group. So this is kind of the group that is really working hard to spread this initiative to end human trafficking, which is amazing. And, it was a beautiful day, first of all, but then we go to the governor's mansion into that beautiful event space that they have created years ago, but it's really a wonderful space for something like that because it's bright and effervescent and you have this like skylight that's coming down. That's amazing. So we all gathered and had lunch, but what was really special was Centoya Brown was the speaker. And she, as many in our audience know, was in prison for shooting a man who she was trafficked to.
Oh, wow.
And she really mentioned in her talk that from a very young age she was trafficked. And so she really didn't know any different. And so anyway, she went to prison, and from prison she was exonerated and is now going around speaking about human trafficking and her experience, but also with the goal of ending human trafficking. So it was very inspirational.
Yes.
NAHT, their mission is to rescue, restore, and give resources to women and children from the bondage of human trafficking and addiction. So I think that message really came through.
It's always so inspiring for me to go to these luncheons with stories from these people, and it puts everything into perspective.
It does. Yeah. I mean, it kind of becomes a very retrospective day after that, I think.
Absolutely. I would agree.
And then after that, I had Dine to Shine.
Yes.
And again, this was very retrospective. Dine to Shine is I think it's in its third year. It's an event for the Nashville Children's Alliance. And basically that event, it calls people to help raise money for the Nashville Children's Alliance, and their goal is to help children and their families. Actually, since 1992, they have served hundreds of child abuse survivors.
Wow.
And on the wall, when you walked into St. L, were, I think, 537 origami butterflies. And they were representing some of the children they've helped. Keep in mind, in 2025 alone, the organization helped 2,000 investigated and helped 2,000 cases of alleged severe child abuse.
Oh my
just in that year alone.
Wow.
And that is one of the things that they provide for children and their families who are survivors of that traumatic abuse, is trauma-informed care. And so the services are provided at no cost to children and their families. And one of the points that was made very clear is that this year they have lost approximately $300,000 in grant funding, which has a direct impact on how many people they can help.
That's right.
So the night became very centered on helping them raise as much money so that they can help as many children and their families as possible.
That's such a call to action to help the vulnerable in our community.
That's exactly right. And that number has just been on my mind since that evening. I just keep remembering it.
Yeah.
So I will say the evening was incredible. And if you have not heard of this event, I know our audience love new events. This is one to get a ticket to. For next year. I would say it was the best collaboration I've seen in a while between the culinary community and a nonprofit. And that was the team at NOCO.
Yes.
I know, so good.
So good. National favorite.
Yes, definitely. They curated a beautiful evening with a variety of culinary juggernauts. So one of the things you and I were sharing texts about that evening actually was a new space in Germantown called Sauced.
Yes.
It's a wine bar, which I'll open that if y'all want to meet Madeline and I at Sauced sometime.
I know, we need to try it out.
We do. But it was very, very cool. So they were there, they provided bubbles that evening. But then it was SS Guy had this cabbage salad.
Ooh.
I'm here to tell you, I would be happy to accept that at my office every Monday through Friday for the next month. It was delicious. Maze de la Vida was there with barbecued broccolini. Curry Boys were there. Oh my gosh.
I love Curry Boys.
Okay. These spicy smoked pork dumplings that they did.
Ooh.
Wow.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, they were incredible. And of course, NOCO was there, Iggy's, International Market, our friends at DeAndrew Bakery and Cafe, they did the desserts that night, which were these beautiful, you know how he does, but beautiful sculptural desserts that looked as good as they taste. So
that sounds like an incredible lineup.
It really was so wonderful. And then of course we heard from speakers whose children had given them permission, the parents permission to tell their stories, and that's always hard to hear. But also it shone a light on how the organization has been so helpful for people who've experienced that.
Wow. Well, thank you for covering that.
Yes.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And when you were there, I was at the Iroquois Steeplechase Kickoff.
Yes.
And let me tell you, I cannot think of a better way to spend a Thursday night. The weather was absolutely perfect. It was at the Del Rio Chasers Farm in Franklin, and everybody was talking about how if the weather is like this on the day of steeplechase, we will all be happy as clams.
Yes. Yes, I 100% agree. So weather gods, we
really hope that's the case because it genuinely could not have been more perfect. And the evening emphasized the cause behind steeplechase and, of course, the amazing beneficiary, Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital. And the event has actually raised over $12 million for the cause.
Wow.
Which is absolutely incredible, since starting in the 80s. And at this year's kickoff, guests also not only learned about this amazing cause and how they've impacted the community over the years, but they visited with horses. That were beautiful and got to feed them carrots.
What?
There was this one extra enthusiastic horse that kept nodding its head up and down like this. Our photographer Angelina and I, we just had so much fun. We love the horse events. Give us all of them.
Yes,
please.
I know. Absolutely. I love an animal event.
I do too.
I'm here for it. But yeah, no, that is such a great cause. We have covered it for decades.
Yes.
And we're so grateful to working with Steeplechase. We have our style contest, which will be coming up at Steeplechase, so be sure to come by the In Focus Portrait Studio, where we will be photographing and looking for best dressed, best hat, best couple, best dressed gentleman, which last year Lorenzo Roli won, and he is a delight of a child. He's about 7 or 8 years old and just could not have been cuter. So be sure to check that out. But we've always enjoyed working with Iroquois Steeplechase.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful event.
Yeah, and we have some exciting coverage coming up for that. And
we do.
That's all I'll say.
Yes.
So stay tuned and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's exactly right. Yes, that is coming up, and that's going to be so fun.
Yes.
That's right. So then Saturday, I had the pleasure of being the only media in the room for something so special. Now, this isn't exactly party coverage, so I want to be very clear. But it was such a unique event. We really felt like this is something that our audience should know about. Last year, as you probably recall, the Nashville Wine Auction's L'été de Vin, bidders had the chance to buy a spot at one of the most unique events this year. This auction lot actually won the category for best auction lot in our 2025 Best Readers poll. So, you know, remember editing it. So, you know, that was, and it just sounded so fun and so interesting. And so I was actually honored to be invited to cover this. The event itself was a reenactment of the 1976 blind tasting comparing French and California wines.
Wow.
And why this is so important is this is the first time California wines had ever had a platform. You know, Americans were coming over to France talking about these wines, and nobody took them seriously. Nobody believed that American wines could be anything important. So it really revolutionized wine by placing Napa firmly in the world stage. What's so interesting about that and why it was revolutionary is that California wines won over the French wines. So Chateau Monteleone won Chardonnay. It was a 1973 one for white wines. And then California's Stag's Leap Wine Cellars, their Cabernet Sauvignon 1973 won for red. And they fooled everybody. There were wine experts in the room who were saying, oh, back to France, and thinking they were trying a French wine. Right. When in fact, it was a California.
Wow.
So it was really interesting. And for those who are curious about this story, you can watch the movie Bottle Shock with Alan Rickman. I highly recommend it. It is so great and funny to see him eating out of a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. So that's all I'll tell you. But it's a great movie, so you can watch more there. This year's Judgment of Paris, so this reenactment took place at the Union Station Hotel. And wine expert Karen McNeil led the tasting. So she is famous for her book, The Wine Bible, which if you haven't read, maybe pick up a copy if you're, wine curious, or maybe you just need, some more information on wines. That's a wonderful resource. So guests were first led through a blind tasting of white wines, and they were a mix of French and California. Now, these were from the early 2000s, so we got away from going so strict where we were getting wines from the 70s.
Right.
These were from the early 2000s, so I do want to mention that. And then after a short break, they moved on to a tasting of 10 red wines, also a mix of French and California from the early 2000s. And I have to tell you that the winners will be announced in our May issue. So be sure to get the end of the story, pick up our May issue.
Do it.
Yes. But it really was absolutely incredible and kind of one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences that I just won't forget.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to cover that and also be the only journalist in the room. What an honor.
Well, a funny story about that. At the original, in 1976, there was one journalist in the room. His name was George Tabor, and he was on the Paris desk at Time Magazine.
Oh, wow.
So Time Magazine ran his story detailing the event, and then he later went on to write a book about the Judgment of Paris.
That's incredible.
Yes. So I was George Tabor that day.
I love that.
Yes.
And then later that night, we both met up for Meow Meow at OZ Arts.
So fun.
I absolutely loved it. Meow Meow, if you don't know, is an Australian singing sensation and an international favorite. She has played all over the world.
Yes.
And she sings primarily songs from the 20s and 30s, most of which are in German, which is so impressive. But she also transforms songs from other decades into her signature style.
Yes.
Like Not About Love by Fiona Apple, who is one of my favorite artists.
Yes.
Fake Plastic Trees by Radiohead. I would have never expected those songs to be sung in a cabaret style, but it really worked. worked.
Yes. And I'd seen her before.
Yes.
So I was so excited for you to see this show. And I hope it lived up because I didn't shut up about it for
it definitely did. She's also hilarious. I mean, I feel like everyone in the room was just belly laughing. She knows how to engage a crowd. And also for it to just be her up there and then two of her band members, I mean, being able to demand the audience's attention solely for an hour and a half is such a gift.
And I think that that's what's most impressive is that a performer, an artist, can put themselves into a show because while there were similarities to the show in 2022, this was wholly different. It was a different experience, and there were obviously different songs. And an artist to be able to do that is so impressive. And I don't know. I just think there's something special about that specific talent.
I agree. And it was a one night only show, which was very special, but I'm hoping she'll come back to Nashville because I will be there.
I know. That's exactly right. See, that's what happens is she gets you and then you always want to go to her shows.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was our great week. We had so much fun with it, and we have another busy week coming up this week.
Yeah, so tell us what all's on the docket.
Yes, so this week we have a country thing happened on the way to cure Parkinson's. We have Sips for Strength, which you're covering, for the New Beginning Center. We have the Nashville Zoo's Conservation Luncheon, the Power of the Purse for the Women's Fund for the Community Foundation, the Land Trust for Tennessee's Music on the Farm.
Yes.
So have fun going to that. That's
Can't wait.
Such a great night. The First Gala, the Glitz and Glamour Gala, which is going to be really interesting for the Kidney Foundation, the Big Night Out, and then you and I are experiencing separately the opening of Ocean Prime, which is a new restaurant.
Very highly anticipated, so we're excited to take you all into that with us.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. So I think our different experiences are going to give us a lot to talk about.
I agree.
So you're not going to want to miss that. So that's our week. We look forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, click, and share. And remember that with you, our In Focus friends, we're in good company.
Cheers.
Cheers.